Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Watches TV, where I watch all the TV. I watch the reality shows, I watch the trending series on Netflix and Apple, I watch all the true crime, I watch everything. I watch The Housewives, I watch Big Brother, I watch it all over here and I cover it all over here. And today I want to talk about Homicide LA. I haven't filmed videos over here the last couple days because I found out by going to my eye doctor yesterday that I have a viral eye infection. And so I was put on like medicine and eye drops and things like that. And if you watch my vlog, so I have a daily vlog channel called Peter Vlogs where I vlog every single day. My eye was almost closed up. It was completely red. I kept on vlogging every day because I was getting bored and I wanted to do something. But to get on video and to like film a video like this or, you know, on one of my other channels, I couldn't even sit in a room where there was lights on because I was so light sensitive. So that's why I haven't filmed over here the last couple days. But I missed you guys. I missed you guys a lot. And I've been keeping up with the shows. And I have two true crime documentaries that I want to talk about. The first one I'm going to talk about today is Homicide Los Angeles. The other one that I want to talk about just came out on HBO Max, and it is called Black Widower. And it is about Thomas Randolph. And he had 6 wives and 4 of them died. And I watched it the other night. It's a 3-part series. It is fantastically done. So I'm going to be probably covering that tomorrow or the next day. So if you're wanting to hear my review, I'm telling you what I'm watching ahead of time. I'm also finishing up season 6 of Sister Wives right now. And if you guys have any recommendations, I'm also going to start watching Presumed Innocent tonight. So if you have any recommendations of things that you guys would like me to watch and cover, please put it in the comment section below. Anything new that's coming out, I would love any good recommendations for something new that's coming out. So let's talk about Homicide Los Angeles. I was really, really excited when I saw this come up, and to be honest with you, I didn't even know that it was coming out. I try to keep up with looking at the shows that are coming out on all the streaming apps. I look into them like 2-3 months ahead to see what shows are coming out on Max, what shows are coming out on Apple, what shows are coming out on Netflix, so I know in advance what shows are coming out, and to get kind of excited about it. And also I have a list of what shows I'm going to watch. I think you guys know by now, I keep a list of like what I'm watching right now, what true crime shows I've finished, you know, what shows I'm going to finish. I have a list of shows I'm binge watching, things like that. So I keep all these different lists of I know it's kind of neurotic, but that's how I am. So anyway, I keep all these lists of TV shows, and I keep lists of shows that are coming out on each streaming app so I know what's coming up. I didn't see that this was coming out. I don't know how I missed it, but I didn't see it. So when I saw that it came up on Netflix Top 10, I was really, really excited about it. And the reason I was excited about it was, I don't know if it was 6 months ago. I don't know when I watched it, but I feel like it was 2 or 3 months ago. I don't feel like it was that long ago. I watched season 1 of the show. So it's a series and it's called Homicide. And season 1 was New York and season 2 is Los Angeles. And so it's 5 different episodes each season of cases that like the homicide department solved, the police department solved in New York was the first season, and now Los Angeles. Okay, the first season, and I think I might have even done a video over here, of New York, I loved so much. It was so well done. I just was so impressed with it. My eyes might like go in a little bit out because the lighting in here is starting to affect my eyes a little bit. I was so impressed with Homicide New York. It was cases that I didn't really know a lot about, and it was really like each case kind of had like the same people. So each season, it's like the same group of people that are working on the cases, and so it's like at the end of it, they come together in a bar and they kind of meet and they kind of talk. The thing is about Homicide New York was they really talked about the empathy that they had towards the victims. They really talked about how difficult the job was while they were talking about the cases. So you really kind of learned about the detectives and the different people, the crime scene investigators and, you know, the coroners and things like that as they were telling the stories, because for each case, they would talk about it. Like I even remember from that season, it was like one guy was asked to pick up a case at the end. He was like, it was too much. I couldn't go through with it. I wanted a family. I wanted kids and things like that. Part of what was so endearing about Homicide New York was not just the true crime stories that you heard, which were fantastically told. It wasn't also the fact that they really honored the victims. I mean, it was so fantastically done how the first season really honored the victims of each of the stories in a really fantastic way. They really, really did. But it was also the bringing together of the investigative team that you could tell really, really cared about each other, that really knew each other. So I was so excited when I saw that Homicide Los Angeles came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be the same thing as Homicide New York, but it's going to be in Los Angeles. And so I was like, okay, maybe they're going to do this in every different city, and I was really, really excited about it, right? So this just came out in 2020, I guess they both came out in 2024. So, hold on, let me get to Homicide Los Angeles. The first case on here was hunting Phil Spector. So Phil Spector was a music producer, and he was charged with killing this woman, and her name was Lana, and I think Lana Chambers was her name. And again, they tried to like really honor the victims by having like, they had her mother talk, they had friends of hers talk and things like that, and she was kind of like a B-list actress, and she knew like Phil Spector and whatever. So anyway, he got charged with it, and then there was a mistrial, whatever. I think, in all honesty, like, I knew a lot about this case. I had read articles about this case for years and years and years. I think having started this series off with a case about a celebrity, I think kind of set the tone. Because one of the detectives, right before they go into this, well, it's like the beginning of this episode, he says when people think about Los Angeles, they immediately think about Hollywood and the celebrities, but that's not what Los Angeles is all about. Something like that. And then it goes right into the Phil Spector case. And I was like, okay, Bill, then maybe you shouldn't have started this whole series with a celebrity case. So I was like going into it, I was like, are these going to all be celebrity cases? And so I watched the Phil Spector one. It was fine. It was, I mean, the story is absolutely sad and tragic, but I had watched other documentary episodes about this before. It was really no different. I had read articles about it. It was really no different. And so then it goes into the next one, which is about this race car killer. And it's about this man and his wife that are shot in their driveway. And he was like a famous, tell me something, I can't remember. He was a famous race car driver. Again, it was tragic and sad, and it was told by his son. And they had a lot of family members and friends that were talking about it. And it goes in and about like his business partner and this guy. I mean, the whole story was like really interesting. I didn't know anything about this case. I'd never heard anything about this case. But for me, where I had gone from Homicide New York, where it was cases that were honoring victims about really normal people, it was like 2 in a row that are kind of like celebrity stories. And I was like, I'm confused as to why you do that. I really thought it was going to get into like the nitty gritty of Los Angeles, of like people, cases that you've never heard of before. I mean, these were both high profile cases. When I looked up the second case, like about this race car driver, there was a lot. There was a lot that had been put out there. It had already been shown in other shows. So I thought it was an interesting pick. It kind of almost felt to me a little bit like they were trying to rush to get the season out because Homicide New York did so well. And then the third episode is called Murder at the Beach. This one was interesting to me. This one I didn't know anything about. And this was really what I was hoping that Homicide LA would be about. And it was about this woman that they found her body at the beach. They suspected that it was her husband at the time. She had a daughter that previously, before she got married to this guy. And the case was really never solved. And then like 30, 40 years later, because of like DNA and all this kind of stuff, it was like they found out, like, and they went back and like this guy picked up this cold case literally like 30 years later, and what goes in. He was the main guy that they kept on showing in there. This was the thing. In Homicide New York, they went in. I remember the one detective, they talked about how he loved the Grateful Dead and he always wore the Jerry Garcia ties and all this kind of stuff. And like, they talked about their families. They talked about their kids. They didn't do any of that in this show with the detectives. I don't really know why. I don't know if they weren't willing to do it, but you really didn't get to know these people other than the cases that they were working on. There was no personalization of the police investigation team whatsoever, which is part of what was really interesting to me about Homicide New York. This case was really, really endearing, and it was really good. Her daughter is interviewed through the entire thing. Her daughter's now a grown adult because this happened, I think, like in 80 or 83. This was a really interesting case, and it was really about the stepfather that, like, people had suspected him for 30-some years, right? And then they finally find out, like, who really did it, and it was this man, and that whole part was really interesting. That was one of the interesting parts to me, was when they went to go question him, and his new wife was there, and he kept her in the room, and then, but, like, they didn't even really get, like, a just trial, because he took a plea bargain, but they were just happy that there was some justice and some truth that had finally come out. But that case was, like, probably the most interesting one to me. The next one was called Hollywood affair, and it was about this guy that was like a studio executive, and I mean, he was like, had mass affairs, and had been like in some movies and TV shows and stuff like that. It was another one that felt very similar to me, like the first two, and so, in fact, I kept on watching this guy, because they said that he had been like in a couple movies and stuff, and I was like, I feel like I've seen him in a couple of movies. And the movies they listed, like, I don't remember, like, having seen or watched those TV shows, but he looks so familiar to me. And I was like, I feel like I know this guy. Like, anyway, but I had never heard of this case before. It was, like, another sad and tragic case, but there was all these different people. It was a very confusing story. And then the last one was called The Disappearing Wife. And it was about this woman, and she was actually a senator's daughter. This was where, like, when they first started telling it, she and her husband owned a real estate firm together. And he was really weird. In fact, if you watch my Peter Mon, my drama channel, you know that I've covered her Baumeister extensively over there. He was a serial killer in Indiana. Her husband reminded me a lot, like his mannerisms, the way he spoke. When you watch interviews of her Baumeister, it was very similar. He even physically looked like her Baumeister a little bit. And so I was really taken with the story right away. But then they get into it, and about 20 minutes in, they talk about how she is a senator's daughter, and that her dad had gotten into all this trouble and had gone to prison himself. And I was like, I feel like every story on this Homicide LA that you're kind of trying to act like doesn't really have anything to do with celebrity, every story except for the woman missing on the beach has something to do with some kind of touch to fame, like something in there. That story was so sad. And you want to talk about the arrogance, I mean, ego and pride of this man, this husband. I mean, he was literally asking multiple women out on dates when he had just, like, killed his wife. I mean, it was unbelievable to me watching that. So I got that done. I will tell you, like, all of my friends that have asked me, because now all my friends ask me what I think about these TV shows, right? All of them knew that I was watching it. They asked me they were like, was it as good as Homicide in New York? And I was like, no, I wouldn't even recommend it. I didn't think it was that good. And I turned around and I watched the Thomas Randolph story, which I'm going to review tomorrow or the next day. It's a 3-part series on Max called The Black Widower, and it is fantastically done. I mean, it is fantastically done. I'm constantly craving new true crime series put out that are honoring the victim, that tell an endearing story, and that are really kind of scary at the same time. And the Thomas Randolph story was that. Homicide LA really missed it for me. I don't know why. It just was completely different field than Homicide New York, and I was very disappointed. So if you watch it, let me know what you think you thought of it in the comment section below. Give me any recommendations in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.